I'm so excited to be here this evening with both of you, Mark and Allie Kohan, relatively new members to Temple Emanuel for our Faces of Temple Emanuel series. How are the two of you doing this evening?
We're good.
Really good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. And after that technological snafu, I can see we are indeed on Facebook. So we had a mini dry run, but now we can do this for reals. That you're somewhat new to the Pittsburgh area. Tell us a little bit about your move. What brought you here?
We moved in August of 2019, so we haven't quite been here for a year. I was recruited to the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine as I'm a scientist, and we brought our kids, our 6-year-old and our 10. We thought about leaving them behind, but we decided to keep them. So we have a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old. They came with us, and it's been an adventure so far.
That's wonderful. And if I understand correctly, you have family close by in Ohio. My dad's living in the Youngstown area. Who do you have close by?
My mom and stepdad are in Athens, Ohio, which is the southeastern part of the state. My dad and my stepmom are in Columbus with my sister, and my nieces are there. And my stepbrothers and my brother-in-law. And then Mark has family in Youngstown too.
Youngstown and Cincinnati and Athens.
You have the entire state, or at least every.
We're trying our best to cover it.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. So Mark, what neighborhood did you guys settle in?
We landed in Mount Lebanon, and we just absolutely love what we've found here. Really wonderful neighbors, and it's been a great place to land.
That's awesome. So say a little bit more about what keeps you both busy during the day. I'm curious to know both your academic background. The two of you have spent a considerable amount of time in school and higher education yourselves, as well as what keeps you busy right now.
Take it away, Dr. Kohan.
So my PhD is in biochemistry, and I study inflammatory bowel disease and dysfunction in the intestine. So I do that as part of my job at Pitt. So I spend a good chunk of my day reading about inflammation and Crohn's and colitis, reading about new ways to treat people who have those diseases. Those are tough diseases for people to live through. Those are also, I'm sure a lot of people know, a lot of Eastern European Jews have those diseases. So it's really something close to my heart. I work with my lab now. Instead of in person, we do a lot of Zoom meetings and talk about our animal models and our in vitro experiments, trying to keep up with the group of friends and peers that I have that I would have been seeing at conferences. So lots of Zoom meetings, lots and lots of Zoom meetings. So that's the academic side of what I do. But I think the thing that keeps me the busiest are the two kids, for sure. It's kind of a constant juggling act between work and the work of being a mom, which I also love. So that's what keeps me busy most days.
As you say, keeps you tremendously busy. As you mentioned, your work is deeply tied to the Jewish community, which has its share of GI issues. But you bring up something that might be even more relevant in the immediate day and age for everybody who's listening. How on earth do you keep track of all of the links for your Zoom meetings? I can't, for the life of me, figure out a good system. Do you put them in your calendar? Do you have a program? Do you have a spreadsheet?
So half of the Zooms that I do, I'm the originator, and I've found it's very simple. We just schedule them by email, and then I don't send out a link until 10 seconds before we're supposed to have a Zoom. that way I don't have to keep track of which one. But the other ones I'm constantly hunting around for. There's been a couple of online seminars that or online conferences, and every time I want to go to one, I presented in one, it took me like an hour to find the link. So I hear you.
Absolutely.
And I have given up my home office to my wife, who's moved her lab into this space. But I'm a community, multicultural, and human rights educator, and working on a number of writing projects, including those with colleagues in Connecticut still. And doing some community organizing here as well, and learning, I should say, a lot of community learning happening for me as well.
It is exciting, where exciting doesn't always mean positive, but it's a really good time for you to be in Mount Lebanon as a community. We're beginning to realize we have a lot of work to do to tidy up our corner of the world as we look to challenges in broader society.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yes.
It's really, it's everywhere. I think it touches, if you really look deeply, it touches every aspect of our professional and personal lives. The executive order that came out 2 days ago about H-1 and J visas really impacts a lot of my friends, colleagues, a lot of people who I employ in my lab. So, the hits keep coming. It's just a continual parade of needing to stand up and stand out for people's well-being and rights, the people who are here.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So you mentioned 2 young people in your lives. Tell us a little more about them. What are they into right now?
Well, gosh, where to begin? They're into their swing, that we just put a swing in the front yard. And so that's been big, because getting them out of the house, it was like, oh, we're quarantining, okay, we'll never leave the house again. And now we're like, we are, but we do want to have like nature and human contact. We just need to be safe about it. So we've been trying to come up with ideas to get them out. Theo loves soccer. They both like going fishing, and Sydney just finished up a dance class this spring. Other things you want to add?
My daughter and I have a little bit of a tea time thing that we do from time to time. When we moved to Connecticut, we were only a few hours from New York City. So a few times we went and had, high tea and we watched Downton Abbey together. And so every so often she and I'll make like a proper, English tea time, the lemon curd, the scones, all that stuff. We did that today, actually this afternoon. So we felt very, very civilized here in the house today.
You caught us on a good day.
But most days it's a lot of pajamas. It's a lot of pajamas and yoga pants. Our son, he's really big into, getting dressed in the morning, and he just changes into a new pair of pajamas. So we could learn a lot from them.
Make sure you get dressed and brush your teeth. And he comes down in a new pair of pajamas.
Yeah, so they need to understand a good working relationship with the outside world right now.
I am jealous for that moment of civilization. I can't keep my 4-year-old and my 1.5-year-old in underwear, let alone
Yes.
The struggle is
a struggle. It's a struggle for sure.
So tell me a little bit more about the 2 of you. When you get a moment where you get to focus on you, what are you doing for fun? What do you enjoy reading? What do you enjoy doing as adults?
Well, first, let me say that I love how the bottom of your emails with what you're reading. Like, I really I love it when people provide opportunities to talk texts and build dialogue around that. So reading is obviously, if we're able to complete a thought or have 5 or 10 minutes here or there, reading is huge. Taking a walk or hike, and oftentimes on the phone with friends or family all over the country, or in some cases the world, and those things are definitely have been fulfilling to me at this time. Quick book plug. I wanted to plug An Unkindness of Ghosts, which I finished in the fall. Read a lot of other books that have really done a lot for me, including Killers of the Flower Moon. But An Unkindness of Ghosts, I can't stop thinking about. The characters really taught me a lot, and I'd love to talk with anybody about it who reads it.
We also are really big game players. We love board games. We love canasta. I don't know how to play bridge, but everybody tells us we should learn to play bridge. But I'm actually really missing playing mahjong, which I always used to play with my mother-in-law, and
I don't know how to play.
Yeah, and his aunts. So we do a lot of board games when we can sneak one in between, the children.
They're getting more into games, so
yeah,
that's helpful.
That's awesome. And thank you for that book recommendation. I posted it in the comments, the Goodreads review, if anybody wants to take a look, and certainly reach out to Mark for more information there. Any chance you guys are either euchre or pinochle players? Are those?
Euchre.
We grew up playing euchre, both of us. Yeah.
You are in the right part of the world for that. We're going to have to make this happen, when we can be touching the same deck of cards, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right.
Great.
That would be great. We'd definitely play.
Fantastic. And one final question, going just a little bit deeper. We talked a little bit about some of the things taking place in the world right now, and I know that issues of social justice are absolutely critical to the two of you and to your family. What's keeping you up at night right now? What are those things that are pressing concerns among the many pressing concerns that you are taking an active role in, or thinking a lot about, or looking for ways to be more involved?
Next start.
Yeah, so I'll laser in a little bit to just my own career and my field, because I have a feeling I know what Mark is going to talk about, and I totally agree with what he's going to say. But I will say that I think a lot about my own white privilege. Really, the fact that I've been able to have the kind of career that I've had, which has been incredibly fulfilling and for me very successful. And I look at, I'm in a stage in my career now where I have mentees. I train a lot of scientists, and I see people who the system really does not envelop and support, and who will not have the same kind of institutional supports and societal supports that I received to get where I'm at, which is, this is my dream. This is my dream job. And so I think a lot about the ways that I can support and also speak to the people who have power to try to change that, because it's real. It's a real hurdle that people have, especially scholars from outside of the United States, especially our African American peers and colleagues and students, and people who come from Mexico. These are big, big hurdles that they have. And it's going to take a lot of people and hopefully not a lot of time to really dismantle those hurdles for them. So that's something that I think about a lot, and think about what I can do to try to use my privilege in that direction, and how to get other people to use their privilege too. So that's something that keeps me up a lot.
Yeah, just relatedly, I would say, explicitly racism and xenophobia are near and dear to my heart. They keep me up late at night. I think a lot about representation, or the lack of representation. Who's in the room, who's not in the room, whose voices are we missing? Think about my own voice and the privilege around that. Am I speaking too much? Sometimes, yeah. Am I not listening enough? What other resources do I need to lever the resources I have towards justice, towards a shared humanity, one that includes everybody. And so I think about that in this space, and it's very different than in other spaces I've lived and worked in. But as someone who comes from a multi-religious and multiracial family, my extended family, and learned so much from cousins and aunts and uncles, and it wasn't nearly enough either, right? And so I still have real hunger on how do we get at these persistent issues and do it as humanely but persistently as possible.
And I'll just say that we talk a lot about that as parents with our kids. And I think, one really important thing that we, the community, can do is talk to our kids about racism and privilege. And, I think the Jewish community in general is usually really aware of how that feels to be othered and to be sometimes not mainstream. We talk to our kids a lot in an age appropriate way about what our privilege is and how to spot that privilege and use that privilege. And it's not easy. And sometimes the kids they've kind of had enough. It's like, okay, but I think it's really important because, our friends and neighbors, our colleagues, our students who are people of color are having to have these conversations with their kids all the time. And I think until the rest of us have these conversations with our kids, things can't change. And so that's something that we're constantly tweaking. Like, did we make it clear, or was it too complicated, or was it, we don't want to scare them. We don't want to make them feel like the world is a bad place. But we want them to know their role in it and our role in it. And that changes sometimes.
And big shout outs to people all the time, right? Sometimes the best way to do it is just to amplify in ways that I've seen Temple do in ways that are near and dear to our heart. Amplify other people's voices who are doing it. My mom and dad are working on the Hope House out in Arizona where they live, which is a house for homeless families. And that kind of stuff, is just profoundly meaningful for us to look at ourselves too and say, are we doing enough? And if so, what can it look like with others?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we've been starting to talk about and now need to figure out how to act on, coming off of a community study of Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility, is the idea that oftentimes in the Jewish community, we do know the sense of being othered or feeling as part of a minority, but that is an internally felt status that is sometimes incongruous with our actions, that by and large, how we present in the world is easily lumped in with the white community, and that we are participants in systemic racist systems that run very contrary to our values. But because it's uncomfortable to talk about, we've never done that deep work. And I very much look forward to being students of both of you, as together we figure out what we're going to be doing to make the world that our kids are going to grow up in better than the one that we're currently inhabiting. I'm so grateful for your time this evening. Mark and Ali, welcome to Temple Emanuel. I so look forward to getting to learn from, to learn with, and to partner with you in making this world a better place. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you
Thanks.
so
It was a
much for making
pleasure.
it happen.
Yeah.